morning, students. How you all doing? I hope you're fine and safe at home. Myself, Greena MX, and I'm your new science teacher. Welcome to the part 1 video of science class. The chapter today we are going to deal is nutrition in plants. We all know that organisms need food to survive, isn't it? We also know that plants prepare their own food. Does animals prepare their own food? No. Animals as well as we human beings depend upon plants directly or indirectly for food. Now let's move on to the first topic of the chapter, that is mode of nutrition in plant. So before going into the topic, let's discuss about nutrients. So what are nutrients? Nutrients are the substances that are present in food that is necessary for us. Nutrients are very essential for us as it helps to repair the damaged tissues, help us to grow and also provide us energy. Now let's check into the word nutrition. Nutrition means the intake of food by an organism and its utilization by the body. Mainly, there are two types of nutrition, that is autotrophic as well as heterotrophic nutrition. Now let's see more in detail what is autotrophic as well as heterotrophic nutrition. First, let's check out autotrophic nutrition. So as you can see, the word auto means self and tropic means nourishment. So think about the organisms which prepare their own food. Yes, plants prepare their own food. So they are known as autotrophs. And the mode of nutrition in which plants prepare their own food is known as autotrophic nutrition. Now, let's move on to the next type of nutrition, that is heterotrophic nutrition. Hetero means other and tropic again means nourishment. So, imagine about the organisms which depend upon other animals for food. Yes, animals as well as we human beings depend upon other organisms for food. And such organisms are called heterotrophs. The mode of nutrition in which organisms depend upon other organisms indirectly for food is known as heterotrophic nutrition. I hope this much is clear to you. So before going into the next topic, let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought how plants prepare their own food? You might know the process, isn't it? Yes, the process is photosynthesis. Now, let's watch a video on photosynthesis and come back.
Look, this is a plant. And here is the sun. Plants prepare their own food by a process called photosynthesis. Photo means light and synthesis means putting together. Plants need sunlight, carbon dioxide from air, and water from soil. to prepare their own food. Photosynthesis takes place in the leaves of a plant. Leaves have tiny pores called stomata, through which carbon dioxide enters the plant. Plant cells contain tiny structures called chloroplast that contain chlorophyll. Carbon dioxide plus water gives glucose plus oxygen in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Oxygen then leaves the plant through stomata. Glucose gives nourishment to the plant. The extra glucose produced is stored by the plant in the form of starch for later use. Photosynthesis is the process by which plants prepare their own food using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sun.
I hope you have watched the video on photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants make their own food in the presence of sunlight, water, chlorophyll and carbon dioxide. Since the process takes place in the presence of sunlight, it is known as photosynthesis. The word photosynthesis can be split into two words. That is photo, which means light, and synthesis, which means to combine. Now let's see the materials that is required for photosynthesis to take place. Sunlight, carbon dioxide, chlorophyll and water. So first let's see about sunlight. We all know that sun is the ultimate source of energy, isn't it? Sunlight is very essential for the photosynthesis to take place. Next, let's see about carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is absorbed from the air through pores called stomata. These green leaves have tiny pores which is not visible to us. These pores are called stomata, and these pores are surrounded by guard cells. So, carbon dioxide is trapped from the air into these pores called stomata. Next is chlorophyll. Green plants have green pigment called chlorophyll, which is another essential factor for photosynthesis to take place. Not only that, chlorophyll trap the sunlight to the leaves. Next is water. Water as well as minerals are absorbed from the soil through the roots. So all these things make up the process photosynthesis. Now let's see the equation for photosynthesis. And the equation is carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, we get carbohydrate and oxygen. So the product after photosynthesis is oxygen and carbohydrate. This carbohydrate is later on stored as starch for later use. And this oxygen is used up by we human beings and animals for respiration. So the equation goes on like this. Carbon dioxide, water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll gives us carbohydrate and oxygen. Now let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought what will happen if the process of photosynthesis does not take place? Photosynthesis is very essential as we know that plants prepare food through the process of photosynthesis. So without photosynthesis, there will be no food. As animals and human beings depend indirectly for plants for food, if there is no photosynthesis, no food will be there. Also, we know that oxygen is one of the product of photosynthesis. So without photosynthesis, no oxygen will be produced. So without no oxygen, no life can exist on earth. So due to these reasons, photosynthesis is very essential on the earth to take place. Students, does photosynthesis only takes place in green leaves? Then what about these leaves? As you can see, these leaves have violet, yellow as well as green color. Does photosynthesis takes place in these leaves? Yes. As this red, yellow, brown, all these pigment mask green color. So photosynthesis takes place in these leaves too. Now let's look another situation. For that, observe the picture.
Have you seen this picture? In this picture, you can see sticky green patches in the water. These are generally formed by the growth of organisms called algae. Can you guess why algae are green in color? They contain chlorophyll which gives them the green color. Algae also prepare their own food by photosynthesis.
Now let's move on to the next topic. That is synthesis of plant food other than carbohydrate. So we have learned that through the process of photosynthesis, carbohydrate is obtained, isn't it? This carbohydrate is composed of hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. These are used to make other components such as protein and fat. Proteins are nitrogenous substances that contain nitrogen. In our previous classes, we have learned that nitrogen is an abundant gas that is present in atmosphere, isn't it? Does plants can absorb this nitrogen from the atmosphere? No. But there in the soil, there are certain bacteria, they can convert this nitrogenous gas into usable form. And hence, plants absorb this nitrogen along with water through the roots. Also, you might have seen farmers adding fertilizers to soil, isn't it? So through these fertilizers also plants get nitrogen. So plant synthesis not only carbohydrate but also protein and fat. In your science textbook on page number 2, you can see a small blue box describing about cells. Now let's learn about cells. Have you seen building made up of bricks? Similarly, in living organisms, there are tiny units called cells. Cells are not visible through our naked eye. Hence, we use an instrument called microscope to view a cell. Some animals have only one cell and they are known as unicellular organisms. Some may have more than one cell and they are called multicellular organisms. Now let's see the structure of a cell. So cell consists of a distinct nucleus that is located at center, which is surrounded by a jelly-like substance called cytoplasm. And this cell is surrounded by a thin boundary called cell membrane. So I hope you have understood the topics we discussed. So go through the portions and read the textbook very well. See you all in the next class.